problem we are facing is access to capital. And you notice that most businesses die within 5 years in Nigeria simply because there is not enough access to capital. Because if I have an idea and I start doing it maybe gradually from we call it as maybe household contribution for me, I need to grow, and at the point need to grow to look for and that's why you see that fintech are appearing to be the only MSME that is scaling up. Simply because in fintech you don't need to pay rent, but MSME need to pay rent. Fintech, you can do it from the corner of your house and you can source funds from different areas beyond Nigeria. But other businesses are seriously having issue. And another issue is issue of electricity. Without electricity, there is hardly a business that will. So even though if you want to power your maybe lab, a personal computer, you need to power it so that you can really. I can tell you, people that I call, they say it's because there is no power. They cannot actually use their phone to do other business. So these are the things that we need. So basic things need to be catered to so as to move. Another major challenge is exchange rate. It's quite killing now. Most businesses are not surviving exchange rate because by the time you even gather your capital, maybe your capital is 100,000 naira, and see the level of inflation. By the time you do business, the profit would have been eroded, and you cannot sustain the business.
From all of this, if you were to list these challenges in maybe in order of hierarchy, which would you say is the major challenge that needs immediate response, especially from our policymakers?
Right, I would like to tell that it's energy, because when you say energy, it's cut across a lot of things. We're talking about energy and its infrastructure. Electricity is very, very key. I tell you, if you have electricity in Nigeria, people will be in the corner of their home, even in rural area, doing a lot of businesses. You just get to be hearing and seeing business. So energy, I think, is the major thing that we need to look at. Perhaps you also look at energy, also bring about transportation. If you also produce anything in your locality, how do you bring it to the city center? So these are part of it. So I think number one thing to look at is energy, because most MSME bring about out of ideas. So there's a particular level they need fund to scale, but they must start first. So accessing fund is not the first problem. Infrastructure is the first problem.
Infrastructure, talking about energy, talking about even the roads, basically to transport what it is that they produce. For instance, now farmers would always say that one of the challenges that they face is transporting their produce from the farms.
No feeder roads.
Unfortunately so. But let's now talk to the impact of policies and government initiatives. This year alone, we've seen, quite a number of initiatives and policy that have come out from our policymakers. And MSME, people doing businesses in Nigeria, have not been very comfortable with most of these policies. I'll speak specifically about, interest rate, the rise in monetary policy rate, which we do expect is at some point expected to deflate inflation. But that has not been, easy on micro, small, and medium enterprise owners. But let's hear from you now. How would you say these policies have been effective, especially in the area of, business and ease of doing business in Nigeria?
Right. I think after we have taken energy as number one, number two will be capital. Access to capital is a problem. No, accessing capital is a problem simply because of the rate of MPR. The interest rate is a problem. How many Nigerians can go to conventional banks to go and borrow money? And when you are going to borrow money, what are you borrowing the money with? Are you borrowing the money with, they will ask you, do you have a landed property? These are the questions they will ask you. And beyond that, we need to think beyond that. How much do you want to borrow? There's some level of borrowing that could even say you need a traditional ruler to stand for you. You need your NYC certificate. They need to bring it down so that people can easily access 500,000. Okay, I need 500,000. You're telling me to give you a landed property in a highbrow area. How can I do that? So there must be a window but in terms of regulatory, I think the CBN are looking at macro in the face of their own policy making. They are not looking at the micro itself that's really trickled down to man on the street who is actually doing a weaving in his corner to actually sell, buy and sell. They need to look at that from that perspective. Perhaps there should be a window that if your business is between, I think there's they launch one particular platform. Pathetically, they said it will start from the civil servants, not the actual people on the street. So I think there should be a platform where MSME, you come with your certificate, maybe your CAC certificate, your TIN number, and your business structure. By the time you bring about it, they will give you if you recall, during President Muhammad Buhari, he actually did what we call ease of doing business. But the ease of doing business was basically on paperwork. So as for you to register at CAC at 8,000, at maybe 20,000. Beyond that, you must also do ease of doing business through the supply chain itself. Because it's not enough for me to produce in Sokoto